Hey YouTube! So I'm just going to go from the start on this guitar. This is an unbranded, says made in Japan on the back of the neck, but got a really, looks like a bit of an old satchel or something. Yeah, I will be throwing that out. So I'm just going to go for the process of everything I'm going to do at this. This is actually Pat, the singer in Kraken House, found it in his attic. We're going for, I don't think that's, it'd be interesting, maybe when I give it a bit of a clean, might be able to see if it had a brand on it, but basically it's a Grant. Or I've seen exactly the same guitar badged Grant before. It's got nylon saddles, and it's got this funny sort of old 70s Japanese type tailpiece. It doesn't look like a normal tailpiece. It's still got its original witch hat knobs. It's even got the wee finger bleeders plastic. Finger bleeders on the tones, but not on the volumes. Still got its original scratch plate. Frets are very, very dirty, but they're not really that badly dinked. So first things first, I'm going to plug it in and see if it works. See if the electrics work. They might. They might not. Definitely on, isn't it? Definitely on. Okay, so it's entirely dead. Oh, clear out the tune. Let's just have a wee. Where's the switch cleaner? Just, it's possible that I'm going to be able to. Okay. Appears to be a dodgy switch, so it's always worth checking and see what works. Working. Neck pickup. Volume works. Oh, there you go. So I mean, perfect. Underpants ski. So I mean, these aren't original pickups. These would have come with the problem with the Grant. These are like how cheaply can you get a guitar built? So they have I'm just actually going to cut these off rather than getting tetanus off them. I'm just going to snip them. It's not like they're going to be any use. Why did people never know how to put strings on, especially in the 70s? I suppose maybe now you can just look up a YouTube video or know someone with a guitar, and it's like, you know, to put them on, because it's this whole thing about putting the string on. In fact, I don't think you got pliers in the 70s, basically, or any way of cutting strings. So that's why they just, you know, they kind of. Yeah. Yeah, so these would have come with fake buckers, which are like, they kind of look like humbuckers, but they're in below. You know, you get on a normal humbucker, don't have one sitting about. You can kind of see, well, these are sort of, I would say 80s pickups. You can see the pole pieces on one of the coils, and the other one's covered over with the covered pickups. Well, in the original ones in these, you can see the pole pieces of the coil that's there, but there isn't no other coil. It's just a single coil in below the thing to make it cheaper, and it's just not worth doing that anymore. Pickups are that cheap. So these pickups will, I'd imagine, will be humbuckers. They actually look like the same pickups that are on Civit's Echo. She's got a Echo bass, which I did a video for. It kind of looks a wee bit like a violin bass, apart from its full scale. And what apparently happened with the Echoes was some guy was in Italy, bought the factory, and it was full of bits, and then he sold off all the bits of guitars, you know, just like necks and bodies, and there was one guy bought them all and then spent the next 10 years or something just finishing them off. So you get these crazy 60s Echoes that were actually put together in the 90s. So they've got like some modern parts on them, but the actual bodies and necks are original, or made up being original. So basically first I'm just cutting off these strings. This might be a bit of a video series actually. I think, to be honest, all I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to clean it up and make it work. People like black Les Paul Customs, and it's one of the things you can't really fake is oldness. Some folk would say age, I say oldness. So it does. It is from the 70s. We're going to check how straight is the neck anyway. Maybe it's maybe a bit over straight. I'm just going to cut them off. I just don't want them to snap in my face. That's kind of why I'm doing it this way. These strings are from, maybe not from the 70s, but from many moons ago anyway. The main thing this really needs is a clean more than anything else. But you do see a lot of these kicking about, different brands. If you get one that's branded like Ibanez, which is possible, you get the same guitar, but it'll probably have better hardware. This being the cheapy one, has not naff, but let's be honest, not great hardware. Yeah. It would have had bad pickups. I suppose my temptation would be I could put like a, you know, the Peter Green sound. I might just put the Peter Green sound in it actually. The phase, you know, you put a phase reverse, which would basically give you, well, do you want to lose the original sound? Because you could put a switch on it, which basically flips the pickup backwards. I've already turned that off. So basically I don't even know why I'm really videoing this when I should really just be doesn't want to come off. Doesn't want to, I won't bother it. Pickup rings cracked, they often are. I'll be probably actually just maybe not. I was thinking I could maybe just super glue it back together again. Just a pickup ring. Doesn't really make any difference, but what I really just want to do is, again, it's got always white painting, unloved guitars. Can I take this horrible piece of leather off? Kind of looks a bit biblical, to be honest, this piece of leather. I'm just going to unscrew it. So I've got a set of strings. I'll probably just bolt on neck, obviously, made in Japan. Yep. Also, it's been flipped upside down. Normally, so the neck has been off this guitar because they originally came. The made in Japan neck plate was always upside down. Why? Don't know. Just was. This is a really stinky piece of leather, which is, I think, got wet at some point, and then do you not use that as some sort of form of torture when you wrap folk up in leather in like medieval times? Yeah. Totally is like an old 70s satchel school bag thing. How dirty is this, just out of interest? It's quite dirty, but it's not, to be honest, it's not that bad. I had a Grant one of these, basically exactly the same guitar, but badge Grant. It was the dirtiest guitar ever. I think it had been in a pigeon loft or something like that, and I kept playing it because it was all original dirt from the 70s. I kept it for ages, and then I did it up, put real pickups in it, and upgraded the hardware, and I sold it, and I got so much money for it. It totally wasn't worth it. I should just have kept it as a manky guitar. So I will be keeping this one original, I think. Well, the pickups work, assuming they sound good. I'm just going to clean it with not the correct stuff. I've got this in a pound shop. Home and office screen cleaning gel with anti-static cloth. What is it? Alcohol, ammonia free, anti-static formula. Basically like soapy water. So I'll just give it, I'm just going to basically clean it with this spray on sort of soapy water crap. I don't have kitchen roll. I do have bog roll though, so I'm going to use bog roll. Keep meaning to buy kitchen roll, keep forgetting. Probably much more suited to this. It will just take off. It's cleaning up really easily actually. It's surface dust. This hasn't been in like a garage or something. It's been in an attic, but it's been exposed to the elements a bit, but not pure minging, which a lot of guitars, let's be honest, are pure minging when you get them. The purposes of this video are really just what you would do if you were thinking of, you know, building a guitar. This is the sort of thing I would actually probably go for. Something a bit more interesting. Maybe not as your first guitar. Your first guitar should probably be a newer than this Strat type copy. Mess about with that, and then move up to get a 70s Les Paul and make it play. Because I mean, these were the cheap guitars you could buy at the time. Slightly after the Auditions and, you know, the Woolworths guitars and the top 20s, the ones that really kind of aren't guitars. These sort of, I'm not saying they're pure amazing, but I mean, you can be made to play. You can learn on it. You could play a 70s pub gig with it with your H&H amp and all that, and it'd be fine. The difference in these things is if you get one that's been messed about with someone like me who's just been tinkering with it, knows what they're doing, you can actually get a pretty good one. You know, the actual quality of the wood's not bad. I don't think this is the hollow one. It might be. It's not. You know, it's got a curve. As you can see, it's got a curved top. Note I said curved, not carved. What you often get with these is it's like a Les Paul Junior solid body, and then it's got like blocks and below it, and then this top bit's a piece of plywood that's actually been bent over it, so that, you know, it's a flat piece of wood bent over a few sort of blocks. So I mean, this is the time to clean it. You notice I'm spending more time polishing the bits that you can only get to with the strings off. It's just amazing the difference it makes just cleaning up the, you know, just the pickup rings. So this is quite dirt's coming off quite nicely. Totally shredded this piece, so I'm not so bothered about the rest of the guitar, because once it's up and running, I can get at all these bits. It's amazing the differences that's made to it actually. This is also, when you're doing this, it's just, you can kind of see if there's any other issues that you're going to come across. I'd like to take that off and put in below it, but it doesn't really want to come. Maybe I have to unbolt it, unscrew it. You know, normally, which I suppose is a better design rather than this thing falling off. It just wants to be unscrewed. Means I can clean. Manky guitars just don't cut it. I don't like them. I don't like the idea of playing the guitar and then just having whatever kind of dirt it is. I suppose in this one it's basically attic dust, which is not as bad as, you know, like finger sweat and all that. These going to come off quite easily. Kind of are. Well, it does have the finger bleeders under the boing. They're just spun round. I will be rotating them, because the pots did actually seem to work. See, I call them the finger bleeders. They're just be bits of plastic. But I figured if one of the later on things I'll do is I'll undo the pots, spin them round so that they're pointing, because obviously they're meant to point to when you're at 10. I'm going to give the back a quick shot. I might use this crap on the fingerboard as well. Scott keeps telling me to buy this alcohol stuff, which I should buy, but I haven't yet. Is it rubbing alcohol or something? Not drinking alcohol for the fretboard, but this is basically just like soapy water to get the dirt off, really, more than anything else. Who's it keeps messaging me? I suppose I'll take the back off it anyway, because I'm going to go in and clean the pots, find out whether this is plywood or not. It wouldn't surprise me if it was. Not that plywood's necessarily a really bad thing. Really, I mean, to be honest, the most important thing with an electric guitar is the neck. So as long as the neck's all right, everything else can be upgraded or messed about with. It does look like someone's been actually cutting away at the neck pocket. So I mean, I wonder if this has been, you know, I don't know how good these were new because we're from the 70s, but it might be a case of, you know, the components are there, but if they're selling it as cheap as they can, they probably didn't get anyone to set it up. So it might be a case of taking it off and shimming the neck, you know, and doing all these things to make it play properly. Am I going to even take? I'm going to take the truss rod cover off and see if the truss rod works. I suppose I should probably have done that before I started cleaning it. This is a lesson I've learnt before. When you fix up a guitar, make sure it's working before you just spend tons of time on it. I think this had a logo on the headstock and it's been sanded off, so it might very well, it could very well be a Grant. It's certainly exactly the same as a Grant I had before. I actually just bought a Grant bass today, a silver one, but a different range. Grant was a guitar shop, and I think the main shop was in Glasgow, but I think he had shops all over the place. There was one in Dundee. I think there might even be some down south. Not really sure. But he obviously he bought these from whatever Japanese factory it was, and if you buy enough, they'll put your logo on the headstock, or if you pay extra, they'll put your logo on the headstock. Yeah, this has had a logo on it at some point. You can see it's been sanded off, but there's no indication of what it used to say. It's been sanded off 30 years ago or something. But this has got the lawsuit headstock. Not that Gibson were particularly bothered with, you know, this kind of guitar. You're not going to mistake this for a real Les Paul if you play it. You know, it's like, oh, it's got a bolt-on neck, and it's like, it doesn't weigh 3/4 of a ton, so it's not a 70s Les Paul. You know. I wonder if is that going to come off the back of the headstock? It's got white paint on it. Am I going to be able to just how's that going to come off? I might need to use Truss or something like that. Not really super bothered about it at the present moment. I just want to get this so that it's not. I think I'll probably. Mind you, these tuners maybe not actually that bad. I just want to get it so I can handle the guitar without feeling dirty. You know. Basically, what I'm going to do with this now is I'm going to put strings on it. I think I'll put 10s on it. If you're being a wee bit of a cheaty bastard like myself, it's actually easier to set up a guitar with thicker strings. There's less tolerances involved. If you put 8s or 9s or something on, you need to be a bit more accurate to get it playing well. The same with your wee short scale guitars you always see. They're an absolute pig to get playing because they're so short scale that everything is in relation. You know, it's like you have to be accurate to within a millimetre or two with the nut and the action and all that stuff on a full scale guitar, but you're down to, you have to be accurate to 1/2 millimetre on a short scale. And on a bass you don't really need to be accurate at all. You can still play it, sort of thing. Nut looks alright. I suppose I'll take it out, see if the truss rod works. That's a kind of later on thing. Yeah, it definitely had something on the headstock that's been sanded off. So I think Grant's probably right. Being from, well, Cumbernauld, this was in an attic in Cumbernauld for I don't know how many years. Pat didn't want any money for it. Like, I've got a guitar, I'm going to give you a found at the attic. Okay. It's an old shit Les Paul. Okay. If you're going to that bit, that's exactly what I was expecting. I kind of knew it was going to be black as well. As I said, these pickups are definitely not from the correct era. I suppose if you're looking at that here, oh yeah, if you're into your EMGs. They kind of look like EMGs. I would put, I think, when did EMGs become a thing? I know that on a lot of electric guitars, all the Ibanez and stuff like that, basically 1984 or 1986 is when it started being, that was the thing to have. The fashion was to have black hardware. 1984, Westone did it, and Ibanez, maybe on their higher end models. It just takes somebody to do it. I'm not that particularly keen on black hardware myself. It's alright. I don't really care. Gold's maybe not the best one. I'm just going to literally clean this, clean the dirt to start off with. I do have proper fretboard stuff, but that's kind of more for cleaning the wick. This is just literally so that it's not sticky and minging. It doesn't actually, the wood on these is actually pretty good. I mean, it's not like now when you buy like your, sorry Mr. White, your Fazlies and stuff like that, where the wood is super cheap. I think wood back in these days just wasn't as expensive. I don't think they really cared about wood as much. So it's not, you know, it's not Gibson Les Paul quality wood, but it's not the cheap crap we get now. This is a fret rubber, which is not ideal, but it will at least, it does polish up the frets a bit. These are very much like your fretless Wonder ones. It's like they've either been stoned or they're I might actually have to get on with that with the wire wool a little bit more. I mean, these don't level anything, they just kind of take the actual dirt off. The wire wool will make them super shiny again. I don't really want, they don't need to be super shiny. I'm now doing either side of the fret with this rubber. That'll make it look good. And how long have we been doing this? 20 minutes? Alright, okay. There's a possibility this video will be an hour long, and at the end of it I'll be playing a Les Paul, which I got for nothing. Again, kind of trying not to spend any money on it. It could be a bucky one. The thing is, it's one of those ones that there's an awful lot of people that they're maybe a bit older now, you know, they're maybe in their 50s or whatever, and their first guitar was one of these. So they've got memories of having one of these, and if you get one, if you just buy one like this for, I don't know, 50 quid or whatever off Gumtree, I've got to take it to bits and try and make it work and all that, and they're only really very good to start with. But I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get this playing pretty good, and certainly for me anyway. It's like, would you rather have this or an Epiphone? And it's like, well, this is, you know, from the 70s. So, okay, that screw's gone. That's annoying. Shows that one. So now I'm sitting there going, do I really need to check to make sure the truss rod works? I do, because I can't sell a guitar that, does the truss rod work? I have to know. The camera froze up there. I don't know why, but I did actually manage to start getting this screw out using a flathead screwdriver, like a small one. These screws will not be going back in again. The one at the top of this thing, oh come on, it's turning. But because I'm having to push so hard down on it to get it to grip, I think it's just spinning, which is annoying. Can I use some sort of, is it actually coming out? It's hard to tell. I'm going to have to try and, the joys of guitar working, doing all the hard bits, you know, that's easy. Spend an hour trying to take one rusted screw out. Welcome to my world. I did a bass recently, it's actually for sale in the Blitzkrieg shop. It's all done now, but what a nightmare that was. Every screw was just so rusty. It was just ridiculous. I'm hoping that if I pull that, with a Stanley knife blade. I take it I've not opened that enough to actually get this proper screw in, is it? Of course, one of the problems here is these are Japanese screws, so they're not the same size as the screwdrivers we've got. Normally you get away with it, but once they get old and rusty, it's not the perfect size. It's kind of metric or imperial or whatever. It's just not quite Japanese standard. It's turning, but it's not coming out. This is just to make sure the truss rod works. If I could get something in below there to prise that up. Where's my... I don't know if these scissors going to do it. Okay. So hopefully I'm pulling this up as well as turning it at the same time, which means it'll actually come out. You bastard. This is when sometimes you get the joy of working on. See someone like my mateys Japanese guitars, they're just better quality. So it's like, actually, or even just in general, expensive guitars generally have better screws. This sort of thing doesn't happen the same way, whereas your cheapy ones totally does. Oh, there you go, it came out. Right, that's just going in the bin. I don't want that. I don't even know what that was. It was a volume knob. Wherever that went. Find it later. Right. So there is the truss rods. See, sneakily I've made it so you can just use the window. I couldn't get that screw out at all. Luckily it's just two that work, so I'm just going to give it a wee turn, see if it's doing anything. It might just be completely dead. In which case, guitar's a binner, isn't it? Is it even that? Kind of looks like it should be. Am I just not getting the right angle? Is it a smaller one than that? I see the 4mm one's really well worn out. It looks bigger than that though. No, it's not the 4. It's not the 4.5. It is the 5, but it's I think the hole isn't. Right, now here's a trick as well. I actually had to use this on, what guitar was it? I was adjusting the truss rod the other day. It went into the neck end, the West Tone Raider, and what I've done is I went through and I angle grinded the end of one of these off, so the L bit is only that height, because I think that's going to work on this. I think it's just not good quite enough. You can't get the angle right, or is it? Is it just not going to fit at all? Yeah, yeah. Oh. Yeah, okay. It's turning. It's turning. That would put quite a lot of pressure on it to turn it. If I had WD-40, I'd put some on it. I don't. I need to buy it, but it's not. It is turning, so it does work. Hopefully I won't need to do anything with it though. I'll just be able to go, that's fine. I'll adjust it if it needs adjusting. Right, let me get that fretboard cleaner stuff, which actually keep out in the hall because this stuff stinks. Really bad, burns your eyes. I run a bit. This, you just put a wee tiny bit on the end of a, what's this? It's a pretty scabby piece of cloth. But it doesn't actually look that dry. It's just, I'm just doing this to get rid of the dirt than anything else. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's not like sort of 80s onwards guitars, the cheap ones where, hold on, why are we spending £1 on rosewood? We can get rosewood for 60p. Yeah, which, you know, if you're building 1,000 guitars, then okay, totally saves you a couple £100. More money for the CEO. The way things are built these days was, At the start, everyone starts with good intentions and goes, "What? Only an extra 50p to a really nice wood. Let's make it a really nice wood." Then people will love it when they buy it. They'll have a really nice guitar to play. And it's like, yeah. Why would you want someone to have a really nice guitar when they're giving you money anyway? That was me washing that horrible fretboard conditioner off my hands. It's stinky and minging. The tuners, they seem alright. Neck looks pretty much perfectly straight, which is not ideal, but it'll do. Right, now I definitely have strings. I might speed this bit up. Lovely set of Roto yellows. I actually had a guitar that was very similar to this. I sold to Tony in the Blitzkrieg shop. It was a Saxon one, basically the same sort of thing. And there was a guy in, actually I was in the shop, and the guy was like, "This is my old guitar." I said, "Oh yeah, totally, a Saxon are pretty rare." And apparently it actually was probably his old guitar. And the guy was from Kirky, and I bought the guitar in Lindsay, so he was obviously going to buy it, especially if if you see a guitar that you liked that you sold 10, 20 years ago. It's never really going to be super clean, but you don't want to use brasso, I don't think, on this, because it'll just take off any thing you've got. I just want to make it so that when you touch it, you don't get dirty fingers. Yeah, that seems alright. Blue. Yeah, Roto sounds you get, they're linked together in twos. So the ones with the blue things on it are E and G. Just like that. Like that. Like that. Kind of put it past but 1.5 tuners. I'll see how it goes first time. I'd rather it was a little bit too long than too short. And then my string winder, which lives there. This has actually got the tuners I like with the really, really thin buttons on them, the same as that resonator I'm hopefully going to be selling to my pal this week. Okay. So you don't want to go quite as far as that. You never know how big these posts are going to be. These are quite thin posts, so you don't want it to be quite as, don't need quite as much as that. I'll take another that much off. Technical term that. Bit of kink in it, pull that out of the way. On, I want to get 2 or 3 turns. 1. Obviously the amount of turns you get on these depends kind of how thick the posts are. Didn't want to stay on there, did it? Oh right, okay. I've got quite a lot of nut work to do on this one. I thought the nut looked a little bit new. Someone's put a new nut on it, but they've not filed it down, so this will need the nut done. When I say new, they put a new nut, but so it's got like the guide slots, but not actually slots deep enough to take the strings. So that's going to be a torturous, horrible part of this. I hate doing nuts. It's probably alright if you spend 100 quid and buy the proper StewMac files, but I'm not spending 100 quid. No, I'll do it with a £7.50 file somehow, and just take ages and just have the whole panic of it going too deep. I'm not really bothered if there's too many wines in these. I'd rather have more wines than less. Basically my first part of the process is going to be make it play at all, and then my second part will be make it play well. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get it. But there's a lot you can do just by fidgeting about with these things. I'll just, unlike the previous owner, snap those bits off. White. This might be an incredibly long and boring video. If you're loving that new silver Grant base though, it's just super. Just a P base sort of thing, but I mean that's really just all I need. I've actually got it tuned to C sharp, not drop tuned, dropped down to C sharp tuning for playing Sabbath songs. I was playing Killing Yourself to Live earlier on it, so it's fine. I'm interested to see if these are the original pots. Someone's definitely been in it, otherwise these wouldn't be pointed back the way. They've also been tightened up. Oh, they feel a bit alright actually. It wouldn't surprise me if they're maybe from whoever it was previously, probably in the 90s, put these humbuckers in. They probably changed the pots as well, because that's where these were cheaped out on, the pickups, and the electrical parts were terrible. Unless it got upgraded. But if this is a Grant, the Grant ones were, if you're trying to sell a guitar for, I think they were about 120 quid, something like that. It does make a difference whether it's £110 or £120, so they saved a tenner by putting not real humbuckers in it and all these things, which is a bit of a shame, because back in those, nowadays you just go, oh, what? You know, oh, it's got terrible pickups in it. Oh, have a wee look at Warman. You know what I mean? You can pick up a set of good, what is Paul pickups for, I don't know, 15 quid each, something like that. You could do that in the 70s. You didn't have second-hand, you didn't have aftermarket parts unless you bought, you know, DiMarzios, or maybe even Seymour Duncan's if it's later on. Yeah, totally. But there, it cost more. Set them, it cost more than this guitar did. You didn't have the option to buy actual replacement bits. I found that quite a lot with. I've bought a fair few guitars that have got bizarre. Aria Urchin had a Gibson T-top in it. My Flying V has a Gibson Dirty Fingers in it, because what happened was you have to have super distortions, so folk would buy their Gibson and then they would upgrade the pickups to super distortions and then sell the old pickups, and other people who maybe had a broken pickup would buy that because that was your only way of getting a pickup. You either bought a brand new super distortion, or you bought a new guitar, or you found someone who just put super distortions in their guitar and then you buy the old pickups off them. Pickups at the time were not thought of as being good. This is, we're going back to the days when distortion wasn't on your amp. Maybe in the 70s it was. That's if you had a new amp would have distortion, but anything from the 50s or 60s was, distortion was like, oh, it's not very good, it distorts. No, the idea was, how loud can we get it clean? That was what was the sign of a good amp. So a lot of these sort of, I don't know, your 20 watt Selmers and stuff like that were just deemed to be, they weren't loud enough for gigging in a pub, but it's not clean anymore, I don't want that. I was talking to Craig the other night, and the guitarist in the Black Sabbath band, he had a Selmer bass and treble as one of his first amps. He's a wee bit older than me, and it was like he just hated it. Is that now he wished he could go back because it's probably worth £3,000 or something like that, and you bought it for 50 quid, spilt paint on it and sold it for 30 kind of thing. How is that truss rod looking? It's about perfect, to be honest. It's got a little bit of, it's got just enough in it. So I think this has been adjusted 20 years ago, something like that. I'll just put these knobs back on again when they're there next. Well, I will go in the back and scoosh it with contact cleaner and clean them out, but for now, tone, oh, volume. You can just be the wrong way around. Who really cares? Who actually looks at the knobs anyway? Until you get home. I wouldn't class that as I wouldn't really class that as an error, to be honest. I wouldn't. I will change it because it's too easy to change. I definitely remember dropping that knob. Yeah. It was found entirely by feel. Go on. There we go. Right, cut these off. Plug it in, tune it up. Well, if the tuner works, it means the pickups are working. Still working, but ideally I will obviously take the switch, take the back of it off and stuff like that and squish everything with contact cleaner. But that's showing something. I do like these really thin buttons on the tuners. I've always got to turn the E string up the most, the thin E, because I'm always scared of it snapping that. And equally I'm not really that bothered about the other E, so the other E might be up at an F or something like that. Oops, turned the wrong tuner. E, A. Now, my prediction is this is going to sound okay up the neck, but round to the open chords it's going to sound terrible because the nut's so high. I don't think that's working properly. Might need a little bit more than just a wee squisher contact cleaner. A little bit spanky, but I reckon that's just because the nut's bad. How's that at? Truss rod's pure. Get some distortion in there. Bridge. Actually, the action on it, without me having adjusted anything, is pretty damn low here, about millimeters. Well, no, it's set up like a neoclassical shredded speed machine. Chances of it being in tune were none. The electric seemed to be working pretty well though. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be fine. Goodbye, nice wee Les Paul. tone control doesn't have to. Spray it on your cable, then stick it in, give it a wiggle. The mic's there, so you're probably hearing the fretboard more than the amp. Amazing how that switch cleaned up as well, then. Now I'm sitting there wondering, should I be taking this into the studio? We're cracking house. Seeing as it's Pat, who's a singer in the band, his old guitar. I got the impression it wasn't his. I wondered if it was maybe one of his kids or something like that had one. This is a particular one I'm using, just Chinese writing on it. It's a pure super lethal mega saw. Doesn't half cut through nut quickly though, like pure insanely quickly. Like if I really put my effort into it, I could cut this saw through this right down to the wood in about 20 strokes. So I'm going to be quite slow with it. And then just, someone was asking me how to do this the other night, and basically it's just trial and error. It's an experience thing. There's probably a better way of doing it. That's still miles to go. Miles to go. What I'm doing here is I'm holding the string down on the 3rd fret, and then you want the string to be not touching the 1st fret, but bow hair off it. This one's currently sitting, you know, about 3mm off it, because the nut's just not been cut. You know, you buy these, they do have grooves on the top to show you where to cut the grooves. And I will be putting pencil lead in this to stop it binding. That's definitely brought it down a bit more. Still a bit more to go. But again, I'm just being very gentle and taking my time. I'm not really caring how long this video is. I might just, this might be a speeded up process. Means I could listen to music, wouldn't it? Get some Sabbath on. This is the sort of thing well, I suppose I'm talking to you, which is good, but this is the sort of thing where you stick on a film that or that's what Stargate and Star Trek were always good for. You didn't really have to pay that much. You could easily be doing something else and not really miss much. You're not talking about watching any sort of thriller or anything you're really excited about. Something you can kind of listen to the talking, and then an action bit comes up and there's explosions you can look up. Perfecto. So now I've just got to cut the other grooves. So close to going too low there, it's ridiculous. But it's not, it's fine. And I'm actually going to pull the action up a little bit. It's just a little bit spanky all over the board. Look at the size of that spider. Now I've seen how low that one went, I can kind of do it with this one as well. But like I said, if you buy the proper nut slot files from Stumac, I think it's 60 quid for the set, something like that. Which totally, if you've got a guitar workshop and every day you're doing nuts, buy the expensive tools. If you're doing, even in my situation, you're doing a nut every month probably, something like that. If it's good, rather than taking, 10 minutes to do this, it's going to take you 5 minutes, that's a lot of 5 minutes to make up your 60 quid, the way I look at it. Could come down a little bit more. Not a lot more though, just a touch. I'm leaving the whole thing strung up when I do this, by the way, as you notice, so the tension's kind of the same. Okay, it's dropping a wee bit because I've taken off one string, but the other 5 strings are still holding it tense. You can actually tell sometimes just by looking at it whether it's right or not. Once it's not the res pawls with their stupid angled back headstock. A wee bit more, just a wee bit more. The problem is when you get to the wee bit more, I'm doing less and less every time because I just don't want to go too low, because once you've gone too low it's like, bastard, it's done, isn't it? Perfecto. Right, miles to go on the next one, obviously, because it's not been touched yet, so I'll be a little bit more aggressive for this one. Bearing in mind that this file is so sharp that if I really put my weight into it and sawed it, I could get through into the fretboards in 10 seconds, easy. But I don't want to do it too much. I just want to make it so... That's actually good. A wee bit more. No. Tune it up and double check. So we're talking about the new guitar rating system, which me and Scott have been just talking about. I think, what did we decide? I think I decided a 5 was giggable sort of thing. I think the best a guitar like this could ever be is a 5, really. Which puts it in line with any Epiphone around like that. They can never really be any better than a 5. Or a, you know, like a Squire or something. Unless it's one of the silly, you know, Epiphone did have American guitars like the Beatles used and stuff. That's not a budget guitar Paul McCartney was playing. You know, obviously that, I'm talking about modern Epiphones. Actually, Epiphone were at one point made by Matsumoto in Japan in the late 70s, early 80s. Never really seen them though, because they say Epiphone on them, so they're worth lots of money. So you know, once a guitar's like 700 quid and stuff, I'd be looking at them. I'm not going to be buying a £700 guitar. Oh, thank you. Perfecto. Obviously, these slots take less time to do because it's just a single cut. But this is also the super dangerous time because this is when I've already done. Well, this is the 5th slot. So if I've got, like, you know, if you're going to make a mess of it, mess it up on the first one. Don't mess it up on the 5th or the 6th one. Okay, looks alright. Just the high E now is high. And once I've done this, I'm going to give it a wee bit of a play, and it might even play open chords. Wouldn't that be nice? I mean, yeah, it could be a beginner's guitar. Actually, the chap who I've set up a couple of guitars for him recently. He's just a beginner, but he bought like a Donner Les Paul and a Gould. No, a Donner Strat and a Gould Les Paul. Maybe something like this, something a bit classy, because I mean, it's 40 years old. So, see, in fact, it could even be 50 years old. The only way you can ever really nail these down is it's early 70s, or it's just 70s, so it could be 72, it could be 50 years old. How's the action looking? I'm going to raise it up a little bit. It seems a bit. It's 1mm. You can't run 1mm on a 70s Les Paul. These are just. It doesn't have a screwdriver in it. It's too much like a Gibson one. So I'm going to sit here and try and turn these with a pair of needle nose pliers. But I should really be taking off the. Undoing the strings to do this. But I'm an idiot. So I'm going to see if I can just turn it like that. That looks like I can. Get about a 1/10 of a turn each time. If I can knock that up to sort of 1.5mm, 2mm, I bet you all the slight spankiness goes away. That's not really made any difference at all. At least it can come off a lot more than that. I'm still determined to do it. It's stupid. Is it just put a screwdriver slot in the end? So much easier. Oh, actually, they can't do that because the slot, the actual post isn't moving. What are we sitting at now? So now at 1.5, which is still, it's still really, that's awfully low for a guitar. 1.5 is, oh, Mr. Vi. We've set up your Ibanez. We've set up your gem. We've got your 1.5mm. It's currently sitting at 1, and that's insane stuff. The problem with that, even if the guitar could take it, which to be honest I don't think this really could, you can't play. You lose all dynamics when the strings are too low. You can't hit them hard. I like to thump strings. Still at less than 1.5mm. But I'm going to try and tune it up and see what we end up with. Right. See if it is still too spanky. Well, this will all be sharp because I've just raised the bridge up. And it's obviously not going to be surprisingly good, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was surprisingly good. Because I mean, it's not absolute crap. See, that spankiness is gone. Half. Rock! I actually quite like the black type pickups. It kind of reminds me of the original 70s Les Paul Customs had, like the ones that had like sort of staples on them, like those Gretsch pickups I had. So I mean, you could draw staples on them. Right, bridge pickup's not too bad. The neck pickup's far too low though. I don't think we're getting the blue screwdriver. I don't think we're getting the right. Quite getting the necky tone out of this one. I must have come up a bit. A little bit microphonic, these pickups. And I'll need to see if I've got. I might just replace that that brush pickup rig. That's what it should sound like. Do you know, this sounds like, this feels like that that Antoria one my pal Gordon has, which was a Les Paul. It was a gold top though, so nicer than the black, but I quite like that. Right, what am I going to do now? I'm going to go in and I'm going to move this switch around because it's going back and forwards and it says rhythm and treble, and I want it to say rhythm and treble like that, and I want the switch to go up and down the way. So let's have a wee look in the back and see what we've got. Oh no, I can already see that these screws are not going to want to come out. I'm going to be able to take them out with this flathead screwdriver. Yes. Am I? The bastards are just spinning. Oh, it's just annoying, that, isn't it? I kind of said I was going to do it, so I've got to do it now. What do I do with that Stanley blade now? Cheap ass screws. So if I can kind of get this in below it so it's pulling up against it. Alright, okay. The screws might just come out on their own. Yeah, okay. I'll show you a wee trick how to put them back in again using a cocktail stick as well. So you've got something to... Okay. Oh! It's actually got a Japanese switch in it. Mind, it's Japanese guitar. Right, so I just basically want to undo that a little bit. Where's the mute button? So this is just a thumb tightening thing, but I'm hoping that the poker chip bit, the bit that says rhythm and treble, is not stuck down with years of dirt. No, it's not. It's good. So I can now rotate that round so it's the right way round, and then I can spin the switch round a little bit so it's actually going up and down. Go like that. And if I just hold that where it is, tighten that up. Oh, I'm really fighting against my own fingers in the back doing this. Better, right? And it's a sealed unit. The only way you can really put any way I can get switch cleaner into it is to go in from the top. So which is what I did earlier. So if I just can't have too much of that shit. You can, but not that much. Right, so right, rhythm and treble now the correct way round. Oh, I'm gonna have to take this back panel off, haven't I? To get into the back it. Make sure it's working. Oh, still. No volume. Oh, actually, like some other, I've just noticed there. I'll turn off that rat pedal, make it noisy. What was I saying there? It's actually got the fret dots on the edge of the fingerboard. So many wee things don't have that. So many old guitars don't have that, and it's like, oh, you don't need it. Why would you want that? And then, yes, you do. You totally need it. Without that, you've no idea where you are. You just get lost all the time, or I do anyway. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to get a wee bit of a kebab skewer, and I'm just going to split off a couple of wee shavings of wood and stick them into the holes where these screws are going, because the screws were just spinning. So if there's a wee tiny bit of wood wedged in there, it'll just give it something for the screw to catch on to. It's not exactly rocket science, but it works. Not that they're under any pressure or anything like that. I'm really just sticking like a matchstick or something in. This is actually a kebab skewer, but something like that in the hole, snapping it off, and that gives the screw actually something to hold on to rather than it just being poked in like that. And I can just batter that in. I should probably be replacing these screws. It's not a very common piece you have to get into the back of them. But now they should just have something so they don't just spin in the sockets. suppose I'm going to have to take the back off just to see what kind of pickups these are. I could probably have taken the pickups out. I doubt they're not going to be EMGs or Seymour Duncans or anything like that. Well, they do sound good. They sound like a Les Paul. That's the problem with the ones I was talking about, the faux buckers, the fake single coils. They actually sound really good. They just don't sound like a Les Paul. The Les Paul's got humbuckers in it, and it's like, so if you don't want your Les Paul to sound like a Les Paul, they're fine. Oh, there was no indication whether this was plywood or not in the back. I think it is. Obviously, when I say plywood, I mean, I don't mean like, you know, the stuff you buy in B&Q. It's much better quality than that. But why did I decide to take the back off? It doesn't. I don't need to. I don't need to, so I'm not going to sod it. I'll do it later, tomorrow, when I can be bothered. Go in and see what's going on in here. These screws are just so old and so cheap. Cheap screws now are much better than. Oh, volume knob's falling off. There we go. Yeah. I'm sure that kind of didn't really want to go on either. Oh. It's a little bit bent. You can sort of be very careful doing this. This is me kind of, you know, the post, it's a bit squashed together. You can sort of bend it out, but don't do it too much. The better way would possibly be to maybe stick a wee bit of blue tack or something on the inside. Just something to. I really don't want to break this. It's just a really cheap alloy. Still a bit fully offy. How's this one? Oh, that one's really stiff on. I wonder if maybe just I've swapped them over by mistake somewhere. It seems to fit that one, and this one would be tighter. Alright. Yeah, okay. Swap them over. Yeah, so there we go. What was that? An hour and a bit or something like that to make a cheap and nasty guitar into a surprisingly good one. I'll probably do a video of this tomorrow actually. See as I've now built it up. I don't think I'll be keeping it. To God, and you'd understand. He said, stick by me and I'll be your garden hand. But don't ask me what I think of you. I might not be the end of one of you. shite off my fingers. Something not right. So the bridge volume control works fine, yeah. But that's me selecting the neck pick. That's the neck volume control. But I'm selected the bridge pickup, so if I turn the neck down, turn the bridge up, the bridge works fine. We'll go to the neck position. Alright. That's wired funnily, that's why. I bet it's the distortion pedal's making it sound funny. I bet you that's actually right. So it's kind of like a blend pot, but you can't do the thing on this guitar because if you turn down the neck, it's kind of middle position all the time. Yeah, I'm going to have to take the back off and have a look at the wiring. That'll be tomorrow's video. I can't be bothered doing it anymore. Rock on. That was a long one. Probably with lots of speeded up bits in it, and I did end up with. Well, it's actually quite a good looking guitar. It's more exciting, especially with the sort of price I'll be selling it at. It's going to be probably cheaper than you can get the cheapest Les Paul Special 2. That kind of money, and it's like there you're getting like a wee crappy thing that doesn't even really look like a Les Paul. It's the Special, so it's kind of like a sort of. Well, that's bolt on neck, but it doesn't have the carved top and all that stuff. It doesn't look like a proper Les Paul. This does, plus it's 50-year-old. And it's got much nicer wood than you would get on any guitar now. Even, I mean, that Gibson double cut Les Paul I've got, has it got better rosewood than that? It's kind of similar. That's a £1,000 Gibson. Has got this kind of rosewood. Any Epiphone's got nothing, not as good as this. It definitely isn't. Anyhow, rock on. It's really hot tonight. I'm just sweating. It's crazy. Oh, maybe it's just I'm really hungover after the live stream. That could be it. I'm kind of hungover. Okay. Hey, so it's tomorrow. The Les Paul, which I gave up on last night because it got too late. There was a problem with the volume controls. So like basically when you turned. I was messing about with the switch. I thought maybe it was the switch that was wrong. Remember I said that the finger bleeder things, the wee white arrow things, you can just see them poking out there, were pointing the wrong way in these controls. It's because the volume controls had spun right round. So what had basically happened is, see, we can actually get this on somewhere you can see it, and I can see it. Like the volume control, see like where the lugs are. Come on, focus. There you go. The lugs are kind of on the bottom here. Well, the lugs had been pushed around. We're actually touching the inside of the cavity, which has been sprayed with sort of your conductive paint. So basically there was some of the signal was leaking through because the lugs of the actual volume pot were touching the inside of the guitar on both volume controls. That was why they did it. So now, so we're on the bridge pickup, neck pickup. When we're doing the bridge pickup, you turn the bridge pickup down, it turns it off, and it's the same the other way around. Whereas what was happening before, the signal was leaking through, and it was. I don't know if I've ever actually seen this happen before, but sometimes it's just the simplest things. And basically, yes, it was an absolute pig, and it is plywood. That was, I kind of thought that. My main gripe with plywood guitars, nothing to do with the sound, sounds fine, is maybe something to do with the glue that holds the laminates together. It holds onto screws awful hard, and basically I managed to get 3 of the screws out. The other one I just had to I mean, literally putting all my weight just to try and unscrew the bastard. It's a total nightmare. So the reason I don't like plywood guitars is that, and to be fair, when they're new, that's probably not an issue, but once they get to 40 years old, I think the rust in, when the screws rust or whatever, there's something to do with the glue that glues the laminates together or something like that. It just rots, and it's just a nightmare. I've had it so many times, and you go, oh, buy that guitar, some of the screws are fucked, you try to take them out, and it's like the rust somehow rots into the thing, and you end up, even if you can get the, I've had it so many times, you just take the heads off the screws, so the screw's still there. But I'm just going to replace it with new screws, and it should be good for another 40 years. Yeah, I think this might actually be the original pots. I was saying I think this was a grant. I don't think it is, because these tuners are not the shit ones. They look, I mean, they're not. They're the covered ones, but they're made of metal. You can get, so I don't know what, it does look, you're not going to see it in this video, but it does look like it's been, some sort of logo's been taken off it, but I'm not sure. It could have just been, you know, someone put a sticker on it and then took it off or something like that. And even the bridge, though it does kind of look like the Grant one, it is a bit, it's just a slightly higher quality. So it's a very similar looking thing. Obviously, like, tuners kind of tend to look sort of the same, and bridges sort of look the same, but I think this is a slightly higher spec, like from new. Obviously these pickups are not original. Oh, I was going to look and see if I could find another pickup ring for that one that's split. It's just the old idea of getting a flat pickup ring and putting it over a bent thing. Yes, totally, it'll be fine for 10 years, but then over time it'll eventually just crack and break. So now we've got a fully working Les Paul with both pickups. Although that's the bridge pickup. So I think I can still bring the neck pickup up a fair bit. So that'll be the end of this video. I will do a quick video demonstrating this. And I'm going to put it up for sale as it is, because it's pretty cool, and to be honest, I like the look of the black pickups. It somehow makes it look more evil somehow, doesn't it? I'm going to try and sell this as it is, and if nobody's interested in it after a week, I might buckify it, which would basically involve taping it off, painting the top green, sticking a Buckfast label on the headstock, and possibly painting the scratch plate yellow, or painting the pickup rings yellow, or something like that. I don't really know. I'd like to keep these knobs because they're pretty rare. It's rare to find 4 that are all a matching set. I could just put normal Les Paul knobs on it, but I'll give somebody an option to have the as original as possible, apart from having humbuckers, which is, it's an acceptable upgrade. I think I do have a set of the fake buckers in the box next door if you really wanted them, to put it back to original where it doesn't sound like a Les Paul because it's got single coils in it. But I think this guitar has had time spent on it before I got it, like maybe 10-20 years ago, because the frets are awful good, the neck was set perfectly, the tuners are all good, it's got replacement pickups in it. Whoever it is has made a slight mess of the wiring but not, the wiring's fine, it's just the fact that, as I said, the volume pots are turned round, so the 3 lugs that are on it were kind of in contact with the body, which was causing electricity to leak through it. And the nut, I think maybe the nut broke and they just put one on and didn't realise that, you know, you buy a nut blanket, you can't just put it on. You put it on and then you have to file it down to get, you know, to get the action down at the nut. But this is playing with a stupid low action. I mean, you can shred on this baby. I'd want distortion though. So, rock on. I think I'll put this video out this afternoon, possibly. I've got it in the editing machine just now, and then I'll probably put a video out tonight of me playing something on that. Possibly some Dio. I mean, so I've been listening to Dio today. I don't know why. But I like Dio. Dio's good. Actually, like last week in Cranking House, Ali, the drummer, was like, do you know how to play Neon Nights? And I was like, Neon Nights? from memories, not having played it, but it's like. Why is that? I thought it'd be a good cover to do, and it's like, oh, it's not the sort of thing that we play. I'd be up for that, but it's really different from everything we can play. It's mad. I'm normally the one in the band that's pure coming in the, oh, metal again. It's not metal, you know. Aye, rocking. Catch you later. This is a big, long, boring video that I'll probably just put out during the day, but someone said they found them therapeutic, and I'm just talking shit. They put it on when they're making dinner or whatever.